when we look at graphs and analyze them, there's a lot of different pieces of information that we can get from them. So we've talked about finding the domain and range, finding maximums and minimums, finding something called an interval of increasing and decreasing. And then the next thing we looked at was something called end behavior. So what can get confusing is that domain only talks about x coordinates, how far a graph goes left and right. Whereas range is talking about y coordinates, how far a graph goes up and down. And then we talked about intervals of increasing and decreasing. The intervals of increasing and decreasing were the x values. So a graph would start increasing at one x value and stop at another. End behavior is going to be in reference to y coordinates, where the graph is going on the left-hand side and the right-hand side of the graph. And there are a couple ways of writing it, but this is the most traditional. So let's look at this first graph. The graph has a lot of intervals of increasing and decreasing, but remember that had to do with x values. So what we're going to do is we're going to cut the graph in half. So we're going to have the left-hand side and the right-hand side. On the left-hand side is the side where the x values are negative, because that's the negative x-axis. So we're going to say that x is going to negative infinity, because the further you go to the left, you just get more and more negative. The right-hand side is the side where the x values are positive. We're going to say x goes to positive infinity, because the further you go to the right, the bigger the numbers get. What we want to do is we want to determine what the y values are doing on both sides. So on the left-hand side, I want you to see the graph is going up. Well, how far is it going up? Well, it's going up forever. Up forever is the positive y direction. Now we're going to do the same thing on the right-hand side. So on the right-hand side, where's the graph going? It's going up. Well, if it's going up, it's going in the positive y direction. This is called end behavior. Now, one of the things that confuses students is, well, how do you know what x is? What's x approaching? Well, let's look at b. If you just split your graph in half, somewhere down the middle, doesn't even matter what, call this the left-hand side, call this the right-hand side. On the left-hand side, remember, the graph is going down, but it's going down and to the right forever and ever and ever. So because it's going to, or sorry, not to the right, to the left. So it's going down in the left. So because it's going down to the left, it's going in the negative x direction. So we're going to call this side of the graph the side where x is going to negative infinity. And the right-hand side of the graph, it's going down and to the right. Because it's going to the right, it's going in the positive x direction. Now, let's say where the y values are going. In this case, since it's going down, y is going to negative infinity on the left, and on the right it's also going down, so y is going to negative infinity. What's going to happen is in every single one of these graphs, the left-hand side will always be the side where x gets more and more negative, and the right-hand side will always be the side where x gets more and more positive. Consider it like in geometry when you were given givens. Those are the things that don't change. These are your givens. The only thing that will change are the y values. So now, let's go look at the third one. So I'm just going to put a line somewhere in the middle. Doesn't matter where. This is the left side, this is the right side. On the left side, this is the side where x is going negative. And on the right-hand side, that's the side where x is more positive. And again, the reason that x is negative on the left is because that's the direction of the negative x-axis. And the reason that it's positive on the right is because that's the direction of the positive x-axis. So now let's look at y. On the left-hand side, the graph is going up, so the y values are getting more and more positive. But on the right-hand side, the graph is going down, so y is getting more and more negative. So I didn't do all of these, but I hope this helps you a little bit with end behavior. So now we can go back and do a little bit of a review of some other concepts that we've talked about in functions. So I'm going to go back and talk about problem 30 that's on one of your packets. So given this following graph, what's the domain of the function? Remember, the domain is how far the graph goes left and right. Well, this is how far the graph goes to the right, but it goes to the left forever. It's going down to the left, but it's going to the left. So we're going to say the domain goes to negative infinity on the left because it's going to the left forever, and that's the negative x direction. But on the right, the furthest x value is, now be careful, in this ordered pair, which one's x? It's 5, so it goes to 5. So the domain is negative infinity to 5. All right, now let's do the range. The range is how high and how low the graph goes. Well, it doesn't really have a low because this, remember, is going down and to the left. But it does have a highest. So the range, because the graph is really going down forever, is going to negative infinity. And remember, these are the y values, these are the x. But the highest it goes is y is 4. And so that's the range. Next, where does the function increase? Well, remember, you read the graph from left to right. So anywhere the graph is going up from left to right is increasing. So it's going up here, and it's going up here. So there are 2 intervals of increasing. One of them is from negative infinity to 0. Remember, increasing and decreasing has to do with x values. And then the other one starts at x is 3 and ends at x is 5. Where does the function decrease? This is the only place where the graph is going down. It starts at x is 0 and it ends at x is 3. The next question, where is the function constant? A constant function is a horizontal line. So in order to find where a graph is constant, you want to look for a horizontal section of the graph. But none of those 3 pieces that I see are horizontal. So there's none. And then the last one says, is this the graph of a function? Yes or no? We have something called the vertical line test. It says, if I put a vertical line anywhere, as long as I never touch more than 1 ordered pair on the graph, then it's a function. So here, I only hit here. All right, let's try another one. How about if I put my vertical line here? I hit here. If I put my vertical line here, oh, that's the only place I hit. I seem to be only hitting 1 point on the graph. If that's what's happening, then yes, it is a function. And that's an introduction to end behavior with a little bit of review of some older material.